Brothers, hear me clearly. There are some things that a man of God, a king, should never accept. Every man must know his value, his assignment, and his worth in the eyes of God. But when you don't know who you are, you'll tolerate women who drain you, diminish you, and derail your destiny. Not every woman is a wife. Some are weapons sent to destroy you, and no man should ever accept this. Brothers, let me talk to you from my heart for a moment. There is nothing more dangerous to a man's soul, to a man's calling, and to a man's identity than to connect yourself to a woman who does not respect who you are. I need you to hear me. Respect is not optional for a man. Respect is not just a little icing on the cake. Respect is the oxygen that fuels the love, that fuels the connection, that fuels the commitment between a man and a woman. And when a woman refuses to respect who you are, when she makes light of your identity, when she tears down your manhood, you cannot thrive in that environment. You will suffocate. And I'm telling you right now, no man should ever accept. Some of you brothers, you've been tolerating women who don't just disagree with you sometimes because disagreement is natural, but women who actually despise the essence of who you are. They cut you down with their words. They emasculate you with their actions. They diminish your dignity with their constant criticisms. And you've been making excuses for it, telling yourself, that's just how she is, or she'll change with time, or if I just work harder, if I just love her more, if I just give her more, maybe she'll finally respect me. But I came here to tell you the truth. You cannot earn respect from someone who has already decided you are not worthy of it. When a woman respects you, it shows up in everything she does. She may not agree with every decision. She may challenge you to think deeper, but she will not tear you down in the process. She will correct in love. She will encourage in conflict. She will speak to the king in you even when she sees the flaws in you. But a toxic woman doesn't care about building you. A toxic woman only cares about controlling you, belittling you, making you smaller so she can feel bigger. And if you're not careful, you will start to internalize her words. You'll start to think less of yourself, not because God made you less, not because you are less, but because you've been living under a voice that refuses to affirm who you are as a man. Brothers, hear me. The devil has always been after identity. When Jesus was baptized and the heavens opened, the Father declared, "This is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased." But immediately after that, the enemy came in the wilderness and said, if you are the Son of God, the enemy always attacks identity. And when you attach yourself to a woman who disrespects you, you are giving the enemy an instrument, a mouthpiece, a daily attack on your identity. You wake up to disrespect. You go to sleep to disrespect. And over time, you forget who you really are. Let me tell you something. If a woman can't respect you, she doesn't deserve you. Respect is not something you beg for. Respect is not something you plead for. Respect is the natural fruit of a woman who recognizes the king within you. And if she cannot see the king, if she only sees what you lack, if she only sees where you fall short, then her eyes are blinded to your value and you need to move on. A man without respect in his home is like a bird without wings. You can't fly. You can't lead. You can't operate in the fullness of your calling because the very environment you're in is toxic to your soul. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but Pastor, I love her. I can't just walk away. And I hear you. Love is real. Emotions are powerful. But let me ask you a question. What is love without respect? What good is affection if she mocks you when you speak? What good is passion if she cuts you down in front of her friends? What good is intimacy if she rolls her eyes at your dreams? Brothers, that's not love. That's abuse dressed up in romance. That's not a wife. That's a weapon. And let me go deeper. Sometimes the reason she doesn't respect you is because you don't respect yourself. You've allowed her to talk to you any kind of way. You've allowed her to play games with your dignity. You've allowed her to handle you like a boy instead of a man. And let me tell you something. People treat you according to the standards you enforce. If you accept disrespect, it will continue. If you make excuses for it, it will grow. If you stay silent, it will become your normal. But the moment you stand up and say, I am a man of God, I am a king, I will not be disrespected, you shift the atmosphere, and either she will rise to honor who you are, or she will walk away, and either way you win. A woman who respects you will guard your name when you're not around. She will speak well of you to others. She will encourage your leadership not because you're perfect, but because she sees your effort and your calling. She will correct you in private, but honor you in public. That's the difference between a queen and a toxic woman. A queen understands that respect is not about flattery, it's about partnership. She knows that when she honors you, she is actually honoring herself because the two of you are one. But a toxic woman doesn't see you as one. She sees you as competition, as an obstacle, as a stepping stone for her own agenda. Brothers, life is too short and your calling is too great to live under constant disrespect. Don't confuse her beauty with her value. Don't confuse her passion with her character. Don't confuse her presence with her purpose. If she cannot respect you, she is not aligned with your destiny. And let me remind you, it's better to be alone in peace than connected in constant disrespect. Loneliness is hard, but disrespect is deadly. I've counseled too many men who lost themselves in relationships with toxic women. Men who stopped dreaming because their dreams were mocked. Men who stopped leading because every decision was challenged with venom. Men who stopped believing in themselves because they lived with a voice that constantly told them they weren't enough. And I don't want that for you. You are too valuable to God, too significant in this generation to let disrespect diminish your identity. So I'm saying to you, as your brother, as your pastor, as your friend, no man should ever accept this. No man should ever accept a woman who disrespects his identity. Walk away from that. Protect your spirit. Guard your dignity and wait on the one who sees the king in you. Because when a queen recognizes a king, she doesn't tear him down, she builds him up. She doesn't diminish him, she magnifies him. She doesn't mock him, she crowns him. And that's what you deserve. Brothers, let me share something with you that will free your mind if you can receive it. God never designed woman to be your competitor. He designed her to be your complement. The original idea of woman in the garden was a helper suitable, a partner that fits, a supporter that completes. But when you are tied to a toxic woman, she doesn't know how to support you. She only knows how to compete with you. Instead of helping you build, she's trying to tear down what you're building. Instead of standing beside you, she's trying to stand over you. And I came to tell you tonight, no man should ever accept that. Competition in a relationship is deadly. Brothers, think about it. If you're on a basketball team and one of your teammates decides that instead of passing the ball, instead of working the play, instead of moving in sync with the rest of the team, they want to prove that they're better than everybody else. You don't have a team anymore. You have chaos. The goal is lost because the players are fighting for the spotlight. That's exactly what happens when you connect yourself to a toxic woman who cannot celebrate you without feeling diminished. Every time you rise, she feels like she's falling. Every time you shine, she feels like she's fading. And instead of being your cheerleader, she becomes your rival. Now, hear me clearly. I am not saying that a woman should not be strong, intelligent, or gifted. In fact, a strong man needs a strong woman. But strength is not the same as competition. A strong woman knows how to shine in her own lane without trying to dim your light. A toxic woman, though, feels that if you shine, it somehow takes away from her. She doesn't realize that when you succeed, the whole family succeeds. When you prosper, she prospers. When you advance, she advances. But because of insecurity and immaturity, she positions herself as your rival instead of your partner. Some of you men know exactly what I'm talking about. You've achieved something. Maybe it's a promotion, maybe it's a business idea, maybe it's a vision God gave you, and instead of encouragement, what you got from her was sarcasm. Instead of support, what you got was resistance. Instead of her saying, "Baby, I'm proud of you," she said, "Well, what about me? You think you're better than me now?" Brothers, that's not love talking, that's competition talking. And if you accept that spirit in your house, you're going to live in constant conflict. A woman who competes with you will never allow you to rest in your role as leader. She will challenge every decision, not because she has wisdom to offer, but because she wants to prove she's smarter. She will withhold affirmation, not because you don't deserve it, but because she's afraid it will make you more confident than her. She will try to one-up you in every conversation, every accomplishment, every opportunity. If you buy a car, she suddenly needs a bigger one. If you get a promotion, she has to remind you of her achievements. It's not partnership, it's rivalry. And brothers, rivalry in romance is poison. Let me say this, a man doesn't need a woman to be his competitor. The world already competes with him every single day. Out in society, we fight for position, for respect, for recognition. Every day, a man is battling for his place in the world. The last place he should have to fight for his position is in his own home. The home is supposed to be a sanctuary, a place of peace, a place of refueling, a place where he can lay down the armor and just be a man without the pressure of proving himself. But when you're tied to a toxic, competitive woman, you go to war outside and you come home to another war inside. And no man can live like that without breaking down. Now, I know what some brothers might be thinking, well, Pastor, I like a woman who challenges me. I like a woman who pushes me. Then I understand that. But there is a difference between a challenge that inspires you and competition that drains you. A queen challenges you to rise, but she doesn't fight you for the throne. A queen challenges you to think deeper, but she doesn't try to dethrone you. A queen says, "I believe in you so much that I will not let you settle for less." But a toxic woman says, "I need to prove I'm greater than you so I can feel secure." You see the difference? One is iron sharpening iron. The other is sabotage disguised as strength. Brothers, let me remind you of something. God gave Adam Eve, not another Adam. He didn't give Adam someone to wrestle with for identity. He gave him someone to walk with in unity. When a woman truly loves you and respects you, her success doesn't intimidate her, and your success doesn't intimidate her either. She knows that if you win, she wins. If you grow, she grows. If you prosper, she prospers. But when she is toxic, she sees everything as a competition. She keeps score. She treats love like a scoreboard. And love was never meant to be scored, it was meant to be shared. Think about Samson, brothers. Samson was strong, powerful, mighty, but he was connected to a woman who didn't compliment him. She competed with him. Delilah wasn't interested in his destiny. She was interested in proving she had power over him. She wanted to break him, to expose him, to strip him of his strength. That's the spirit of a toxic, competitive woman. She doesn't celebrate your strength. She tries to control it. She doesn't honor your gift. She tries to exploit it. And Samson fell because he accepted competition when he should have demanded completion. So I'm telling you today, don't settle for competition in your relationship. Don't confuse drama with passion. Don't confuse rivalry with romance. Love is not about fighting each other, it's about fighting for each other. And if she doesn't understand that, you need to reevaluate why you are still there. A woman who truly compliments you will be secure enough to clap for you. She will not lose herself in your shine because she knows her light comes from God, not from comparison. She will bring her gifts, her wisdom, her strengths, and she will add to your life, not subtract. That's what compliment means. To complete, to enhance, to make whole. But when you connect with a toxic woman, she's always trying to prove she's above you or equal in the wrong spirit, and that is not the will of God for your life. So hear me, brothers. No man should ever accept a woman who competes instead of compliments. Don't let insecurity masquerade as strength. Don't let rivalry disguise itself as love. The right woman will never compete with you. She will complete you. And until you find her, it's better to wait in peace than wrestle in toxic competition. Brothers, listen to me very carefully. One of the most dangerous qualities of a toxic woman is her ability to manipulate you, not with strength, not with wisdom, not with truth, but with guilt and shame. That's her tool. That's her weapon. And if you don't recognize it for what it is, you'll spend your whole life apologizing for things you never even did wrong. You'll spend your whole life trying to buy peace with gifts, with silence, with compromise, and still she'll never be satisfied, because the goal of manipulation is not reconciliation. The goal of manipulation is control. I need you to really hear this. A toxic woman understands that she can't win you with honor, so she tries to weaken you with guilt. She can't keep you with love, so she binds you with shame. She will bring up your past mistakes, not because she wants to forgive them, not because she wants healing, but because she wants to hold them over your head like a chain. She will take your vulnerabilities, those private things you confided in her, and she will turn them into weapons against you in arguments. Brothers, that is not love. That is witchcraft, emotional witchcraft. That is control disguised as intimacy. Think about it. A healthy woman, a queen, when you make a mistake, she corrects you in love. She challenges you to grow. She forgives, and she moves forward. But a toxic woman doesn't want resolution. She wants ammunition. She files away every offense, every weakness, every shortcoming, because she knows that when she feels threatened, she can pull it back up and make you feel small. And brothers, when you allow that spirit into your life, you will never feel free to be yourself. You'll always feel like you're on trial. You'll always feel like you owe her something. You'll always feel like you have to walk on eggshells just to keep the peace. And let me tell you something, that's not peace. That's prison. Some of you are not in relationships, you are in captivity. You are not in love, you are in bondage. And the shackles are not on your hands or your feet, the shackles are on your mind. You can't think freely, you can't dream freely, you can't even speak freely because the moment you try, here comes the guilt trip. Oh, so you don't care about me anymore. Oh, I guess your dreams are more important than our relationship. Oh, I see you just want to be like your father who failed. Do you hear that? That's not a partner, that's a manipulator. Brothers, let me go deeper. Guilt is one of the most effective tools of control because it turns your love into fear. You no longer love her because you cherish her, you love her because you're afraid of disappointing her. And when love turns into fear, it's no longer love, it's slavery. The Bible says perfect love casts out fear. But when you are tied to a toxic woman, fear is the foundation of your connection. You fear her moods, you fear her reactions, you fear her words, you fear losing her approval. And in that environment, you lose yourself. A toxic woman will use shame to silence you. Every time you try to express your needs, she'll flip the script. She'll make it about how you're not doing enough, how you're selfish, how you should be grateful she even puts up with you. And before long, you stop speaking up. You stop asserting yourself. You stop leading, and you become a shell of a man who once had vision, once had confidence, once had identity. Brothers, hear me. No man should ever accept that. And I need to say this because it's important. Manipulation doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's the silent treatment. Sometimes it's withholding affection. Sometimes it's the look, the sigh, the body language that tells you you're not enough. She may not even raise her voice, but she raises her power over you by making you feel guilty for not meeting expectations that are unrealistic or unfair. And if you're not discerning, you'll confuse her manipulation with love. You'll say, well, she just wants the best for me. No, brother, if she wanted the best for you, she'd build you up, not break you down. She'd lift you, not guilt you. Let me give you an example. Suppose you tell her you're working late because you're trying to provide for the household. The queen would say, thank you, baby. I appreciate how hard you're working for us. But a toxic woman will say, oh, so your job is more important than me. You must not love me like you say you do. That's manipulation. That's guilt. That's turning your effort into offense. And if you allow that mindset to govern your relationship, you'll constantly feel like nothing you do is enough. And brothers, that's exactly the point. It's never meant to be enough. Because as long as you're guilty, she's in control. I need you to wake up to this. Love is not manipulation. Love is not fear. Love is not shame. Love is not guilt. Love is freedom. Love is support. Love is affirmation. And when you are with a woman who constantly manipulates you with guilt, you are not experiencing love. You are experiencing control. Some of you brothers are stuck right now because you think leaving her would make you the bad guy. You think walking away makes you unfaithful or unloving. But let me ask you, what's worse, leaving someone who manipulates you or staying and losing the man God created you to be? What's worse, walking away from a toxic bond or staying in bondage until you're old and bitter and broken? Brothers, it's not love if it costs you your identity. It's not love if it robs you of your destiny. Toxic woman who manipulates through guilt and shame does not love you. She loves the power she has over you. And the moment you break free from that power, you'll see the truth, because real love never needs manipulation. Real love never needs guilt. Real love never needs shame. Real love is rooted in freedom. trust, respect, and honor. So I'm telling you tonight, don't fall for the guilt games. Don't fall for the shame traps. Don't let anyone, especially the woman by your side, make you feel less than the man God called you to be. You deserve a woman who inspires you, not manipulates you. You deserve a woman who frees you, not chains you. You deserve a woman who covers you, not controls you. And until you find her, stand firm in your identity and refuse to be bound. Brothers, let me talk to you about something that can make or break your destiny. A man's vision is the map of his life. Without vision, the Bible says the people perish. And when God puts vision in your spirit, it's not just for you, it's for your family, it's for generations. It's for the world you're called to impact. Now imagine trying to carry that kind of vision while being tied to a woman who resents it. That's a burden you were never designed to carry. A toxic woman will resent your vision because your vision threatens her control. As long as you are without direction, she can control you. As long as you have no dreams, no goals, no passion, she feels secure. But the moment you say, I see something greater for my life, I feel something stirring in my spirit. God is calling me higher. That's when she starts rolling her eyes, questioning your motives, dismissing your ideas, making you feel foolish for even dreaming. Brothers, that's not love. That's resentment. Some of you have been living under that spirit. Every time you talk about what's in your heart, she shuts it down. Every time you mention your goals, she changes the subject. Every time you start moving forward, she suddenly needs attention, drama, or an argument to distract you. And if you're not discerning, you'll start shrinking your vision just to keep the peace. You'll stop dreaming out loud because you're tired of the sarcasm. You'll stop trying to grow because every step forward causes conflict. And little by little, you'll bury the very thing God put in you. That's what resentment does. It kills destiny quietly. Let me tell you, brothers, a queen doesn't resent your vision. She runs with it. She sees what God put in you. And she says, baby, if God said it, I'm with you. She adds her faith, her prayers, her wisdom. She becomes your intercessor, your encourager, your co-laborer. But a toxic woman, she fears your vision because it reminds her of what she doesn't have within herself. It shines a light on her insecurity. It shows her that you don't need her to think for you because you already have divine direction. And instead of celebrating that, she resents it. And let me tell you something deeper. Sometimes she resents your vision because it doesn't center her. If your goals don't revolve around her desires, she feels threatened. If your dream requires sacrifice, if it requires focus, if it requires long nights and hard work, she interprets that as neglect. And instead of supporting you, she demands you abandon it to appease her feelings. Brothers, hear me. No man should ever accept that, because if you let resentment dictate your vision, you'll never fulfill what God put in your spirit. Think about Joseph. Joseph had dreams, big dreams, divine dreams. But when he shared them, even his own brothers resented him. They hated him not because he was evil, but because he dared to see something greater. And that's how it is with a toxic woman. She doesn't hate you because you're wrong. She resents you because you see beyond where you are. She resents you because your vision requires her to grow, to trust, to believe, and she doesn't want to. And so she tries to kill the dreamer in you. I've seen men abandon their callings because of this. A man who once had fire, once had passion, once had vision, but after years of hearing, that will never work. You're not smart enough. You don't have the money. Who do you think you are? He just gave up. He traded destiny for temporary peace. He traded vision for validation, and now he's living a small life when God called him to a great one. Brothers, that's tragic, and I don't want that for you. Let me say this with love, but with strength. Any woman who cannot celebrate your vision does not deserve to live in your future. If she resents your dreams, she will never be able to walk with you into destiny. Because vision requires faith, vision requires unity, and resentment will sabotage all of that. You can't move forward with someone who is secretly pulling you backward. You can't build with someone who's jealous of what you're building. You can't walk into destiny with someone who despises the very thing God gave you. And I know what some of you might be thinking. Well, Pastor, maybe she just doesn't understand. And sometimes that's true. Sometimes a woman doesn't resent your vision. She just needs clarity. But you can tell the difference. A queen may have questions, but she's open to understanding. A toxic woman doesn't want to understand. She just wants to shut it down. A queen may say, help me see what you see, but a toxic woman says, that's stupid. Don't waste your time. Do you see the difference? One is curiosity, the other is contempt. And here's the danger. When you stay tied to resentment long enough, you start resenting yourself. You start doubting your own voice. You start questioning if maybe you were crazy for believing God in the first place. And that's exactly the enemy's plan, to silence the dreamer, to kill the visionary, to bury the destiny inside of you. Brothers, don't let it happen. You need to be with someone who sees your vision even when it hasn't manifested yet. Someone who says, I know we don't have it yet, but I believe it's coming. Someone who prays with you when you're weary. Someone who reminds you of God's promise when you start doubting. That's what a queen does. That's what a destiny partner looks like. She doesn't resent your vision, she runs with it. So if you're with a woman who resents your vision, you have a decision to make. Will you shrink your dream to keep her comfortable, or will you stand in the fullness of who God called you to be, even if it means standing alone? Because I promise you this, God would rather you stand alone in obedience than stay in bondage to resentment. Brothers, you are not called to be small. You are not called to be stagnant. You are not called to bury your vision for the sake of someone else's insecurity. You are called to lead, to build, to expand, to advance the kingdom. And you need a woman who will lock arms with you and say, let's go. If she can't do that, then she is not your partner, she is your problem. And no man should ever accept that. Brothers, let me tell you something every man needs to understand. You cannot build anything stable, lasting, or godly with a woman who refuses accountability. Accountability is the glue of relationship. Accountability is what makes love safe. Accountability is what makes partnership possible. And when you are connected to a woman who cannot own her mistakes, who cannot admit her wrongs, who cannot humble herself and say, I was out of line, I need to do better, then you are not in a relationship, you are in a dictatorship. And I came to tell you, no man should ever accept that. Some of you are living this reality right now. Every argument, somehow it ends up being your fault. Every issue, somehow you're the villain. Even when you have the receipts, even when you have the truth, even when it's clear as day that she's wrong, she flips it, twists it, manipulates it until you're the one apologizing. Brothers, that's not just immaturity, that's toxicity. That's the spirit of a woman who refuses accountability. And when a woman refuses accountability, what she's really saying is this: I want all the privileges of relationship without any of the responsibility. Think about that. She wants your loyalty, but she won't give you honesty. She wants your commitment, but she won't give you respect. She wants your sacrifice, but she won't give you reciprocity. She wants the benefits of being loved by a king, but she doesn't want the discipline of being a queen. And so every time her behavior is confronted, she dodges, she deflects, she denies. Brothers, you can't build with that. You can't lead that. You can't trust that. Now, let me be clear. None of us are perfect. Every man in here has made mistakes. Every woman has made mistakes. The issue is not perfection. The issue is repentance. The issue is humility. The issue is being willing to say, I was wrong, forgive me, I'll do better. That's what makes love grow. That's what makes respect grow. That's what makes intimacy grow. But a toxic woman who refuses accountability will never give you that. She will make you pay for every mistake you make, but she will never admit her own. She will demand grace, but never extend it. She will hold you to standards she never applies to herself, and that double standard will drain your soul. I counseled men who told me, Pastor, I feel like I'm always the problem. No matter what happens, it somehow comes back on me. And I told them, brother, that's because you are with a woman who has mastered blame shifting. She's allergic to accountability. And when someone is allergic to accountability, they will poison any relationship they're in, because accountability is the foundation of trust. If I can't trust you to admit when you're wrong, how can I trust you with my heart? If I can't trust you to tell the truth about your own actions, how can I trust you with my destiny? Let me go deeper. A toxic woman who refuses accountability often plays the victim. She always has a story about how everyone else did her wrong. Every ex was abusive. Every friend was fake. Every job was unfair. And at first, you believe it because she tells it with passion. But after a while, you realize the common denominator in every story is her. She's never the problem. And if you're not careful, she will make you the next villain in her narrative. You'll be the next man she tells the world did her wrong, when the truth is she simply could not be corrected. Brothers, that's dangerous. And here's what happens to you when you accept that spirit. You lose your voice. You stop speaking truth. You stop addressing issues. Because every time you try, she flips it. She cries, she yells, she withdraws. She shames you until you just let it go. And before long, you become silent in your own relationship. You stop confronting, you stop leading, you stop holding her accountable because it's easier to stay quiet than to deal with the storm. But silence in the face of toxicity is not peace, it's surrender. And every day you surrender, you shrink as a man. Brothers, love cannot survive without accountability. Respect cannot survive without accountability. Leadership cannot survive without accountability. If she cannot be corrected, she cannot be protected. If she cannot submit to truth, she cannot submit to love. If she refuses accountability, she refuses growth. And if she refuses growth, she will eventually resent you for growing without her. That's the cycle of a toxic relationship. Now, let me say this because it's important. Accountability is not about control. It's about character. When a queen is corrected, she doesn't see it as an attack. She sees it as an opportunity. She says, thank you for showing me. I didn't see that. She grows, she adjusts, she matures. That's the mark of a virtuous woman. But a toxic woman, she sees correction as criticism. She sees accountability as attack. She sees leadership as oppression. And so she fights it, resents it, rejects it. And in doing so, she sabotages her own future. Think about Adam and Eve. When God confronted Adam, Adam blamed Eve. When God confronted Eve, Eve blamed the serpent. Nobody wanted to own their part. And that's when sin really took root, not just in the disobedience, but in the refusal to be accountable. And that same spirit is still alive today. A toxic woman will eat the fruit, wipe her mouth, and then say, I didn't do anything. And if you're not careful, you'll end up carrying blame that was never yours to carry. Brothers, let me tell you plain, you are not called to carry the weight of someone else's refusal to grow. You are not called to be the emotional punching bag for someone who cannot admit fault. You are not called to apologize for things you didn't do just to keep false peace. That is not love, that is bondage. And no man should ever accept it. You deserve a woman who can look you in the eye and say, I was wrong, forgive me. A woman who can humble herself and grow with you. A woman who doesn't just want the benefits of love, but is willing to put in the work of love. That's what real queens do. They don't run from accountability, they embrace it. They don't resent correction, they respect it. They don't blame shift, they build trust. And that's the kind of woman you need in your life if you're going to fulfill your destiny. So, brothers, if you are dealing with a woman who refuses accountability, hear me. You cannot fix her by excusing her. You cannot change her by carrying her blame. You cannot heal her by silencing your truth. The only hope is her own willingness to grow. And if she will not grow, you have a decision to make. Will you die slowly, or will you protect your destiny and walk away? Because your future is too valuable, your calling is too important, your identity is too sacred to waste it on someone who cannot say 3 simple words, I was wrong. Brothers, hear me as I close this point. No man should ever accept this. Brothers, listen to me carefully. A relationship was never meant to be a one-sided transaction. Love is supposed to be reciprocal. It's supposed to be give and take, pour and receive, sow and reap. But when you're tied to a toxic woman, you will quickly realize that she only knows how to take. She knows how to drain, how to withdraw, how to consume. And the more you give, the less she gives back. Until one day you wake up and realize you are empty and she is still demanding more. That's not partnership, brothers. That's parasitism. That's a leech on your soul, and no man should ever accept that. I've talked to men who said, Pastor, I don't even recognize myself anymore. I used to be full of joy, full of passion, full of energy, but now I'm exhausted. I'm worn down. I feel like I'm always pouring, always giving, always fixing, always apologizing, and I get nothing in return. Brothers, that's the picture of being with a woman who drains you more than she deposits into you. You see, love is supposed to refresh you. The right woman should be a fountain in your life, not a drain. She should pour peace into you, encouragement into you, faith into you. But when you're connected to a toxic woman, she pulls out of you emotionally, financially, mentally, spiritually, and she never gives back. And here's the danger. The more you give, the more she demands, because takers don't have limits. They don't stop on their own. The only limit they know is the one you enforce. And if you don't enforce one, you'll keep pouring until you have nothing left. Brothers, let me tell you, if you allow a woman to drain you dry, you will not have the capacity to fulfill your assignment. You cannot be a king in the world if you are empty at home. Some of you are living paycheck to paycheck, not because you don't work hard, but because every dollar you bring in is drained by a woman who sees you as her ATM, not her partner. Some of you are spiritually empty, not because you don't love God, But because every time you try to pray, try to worship, try to focus, she distracts you with drama. Some of you are emotionally bankrupt, not because you don't have a good heart, but because she pulls on your compassion, your patience, your forgiveness over and over again, never replenishing, never sowing back, never making deposits. And brothers, that is not love. That is exploitation. Now, let me be clear. In every relationship, there will be seasons when one gives more than the other. That's natural. Sometimes she'll be weak and you'll have to be strong. Sometimes you'll be down and she'll have to lift you. But the key is reciprocity. The key is balance. If she is weak today, she should strengthen you tomorrow. If you carry her in one season, she should carry you in the next. That's love. But when it's always you giving, always you carrying, always you pouring, and she never gives anything back, that's a leech, not a lover. The Bible even speaks to this. Proverbs talks about the leech that cries out, give, give, and is never satisfied. Brothers, some women have that spirit. No matter what you do, it's never enough. No matter how much you give, she wants more. No matter how far you go, she moves the finish line. And if you don't wake up, you'll spend your whole life running after approval. You will never receive. And let me tell you something deeper. A woman who drains more than she deposits is not just robbing you. She's robbing the generations connected to you. Because when you are empty, you cannot pour into your children. When you are drained, you cannot lead your household. When you are exhausted, you cannot fulfill your assignment in the kingdom. That's why the enemy sends toxic women into the lives of kings. Because if he can drain the man, he can destroy the legacy. If he can deplete you, he can derail the destiny God placed on your life. I want you to think about Samson again. Strong, powerful, chosen by God, but he connected to a woman who drained him. Delilah didn't pour into Samson. She didn't affirm his calling. She didn't protect his strength. She drained him until he revealed the secret of his power, and then she handed him over to his enemies. Brothers, that's the danger of a draining woman. She will pull everything out of you, your time, your resources, your energy, your secrets, your strength. And when you are empty, she will leave you vulnerable to destruction. And the saddest part is this. Many men know they are being drained, but they keep giving because they confuse manipulation with love. She makes you feel guilty when you don't give. She makes you feel selfish when you set boundaries. She makes you believe that her constant demands are proof of her affection. But brothers, love does not drain. Love sustains. Love does not deplete. Love replenishes. Love does not only take. Love gives. So I'm telling you right now, stop ignoring the red flags. If she never encourages you, if she never celebrates you, if she never pours back into you, that's a clear sign of toxicity. If the only time she calls you is when she needs something, that's a leech. If she never invests in your growth, never supports your dreams, never sacrifices for you, but always expects you to sacrifice, that's not a queen. That's a parasite. And you deserve better. You deserve a woman who prays for you when you're tired, who speaks life into you when you're weary, who builds with you instead of bleeding you dry. You deserve a woman who deposits love, respect, peace, joy, wisdom, and encouragement into your spirit. That's what partnership looks like. That's what covenant looks like. That's what love looks like. And let me be even more direct, brothers. If you keep pouring into someone who only drains you, it's not just her fault, it's yours too, because you have to recognize your own worth. You have to understand that your resources, your time, your spirit, your energy are valuable. Stop giving what is holy to dogs and casting pearls before swine. If she does not know how to appreciate and reciprocate what you bring, then you must stop wasting it. You are not an endless well for someone else's selfishness. You are not a machine designed to be drained until you break down. You are a man of God, a king, a vessel with divine purpose. And that purpose requires fuel. It requires strength. It requires partners who pour into you, not leeches who suck you dry. So, brothers, I leave you with this truth. No man should ever accept a woman who drains more than she deposits. Protect your heart, protect your energy, protect your vision, and wait for the woman who comes to pour, not just to pull, because the right woman will never drain you. She will water you. She will refresh you. She will multiply what you give, and together you will build something lasting. That's the will of God for your life. Brothers, let me speak to you as a father to sons. One of the clearest signs of a toxic woman is this: she dishonors her body, and in doing so, she dishonors yours. A woman who does not respect herself will never truly respect you. A woman who treats her body like a playground for anybody will eventually treat your love like it's disposable. And I came to tell you today, no man should ever accept that. See, the body is sacred. The body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. When a woman understands her value, she guards her body, she protects her body, she saves her body for covenant, for real love, for true commitment. But a toxic woman, she sees her body as a bargaining tool, a weapon, or a toy. She uses it to manipulate, she uses it to control, she uses it to distract. And when you're dealing with a woman like that, she may excite you, but she will never elevate you. She may satisfy your flesh for a moment, but she will poison your spirit for a lifetime. Brothers, I've got to be real with you. There are women out here who will sell themselves short, who will give their bodies away for attention, for validation, for material things. And you have to recognize the danger of attaching yourself to that kind of woman, because when you connect with her, you're not just connecting with her body, you're connecting with her spirit. And if her spirit is toxic, if her soul is broken, if her mindset is corrupted, then every time you lay with her, you are laying down with dysfunction. And let me tell you, dysfunction is contagious. You can't sleep with dysfunction and think you're going to wake up whole. You can't unite yourself with dishonor and think you're going to walk in dignity. Brothers, that's why the Bible says when a man joins himself with a harlot, they become one flesh. That means whatever spirit is on her, it's now tied to you. If she's carrying confusion, now you're carrying confusion. If she's carrying shame, now you're carrying shame. If she's carrying soul ties from 10 other men, now you're entangled in the same web. And you wonder why your spirit feels heavy, why your peace is gone, why your vision is clouded. It's because you tied yourself to a woman who dishonors her body and in turn dishonored yours. A toxic woman will use her body as currency. She'll trade her body for trips, for handbags, for rent money, for a good time. And here's the problem. If she's willing to sell herself for things, she'll never truly value you for who you are. She may say she loves you, but really she loves what you provide. She may say you're special, but really you're just a sponsor. And that's dangerous, brothers, because you will spend your life investing in someone who is never really invested in you. But let me flip it. Sometimes it's not even about money. Sometimes a toxic woman uses her body to manipulate emotionally. She withholds intimacy as punishment. She gives intimacy as reward. She dangles her body like a carrot to control your actions. And before long, you're not making decisions as a man. You're responding like a slave, chasing after her approval, her affection, her body. Brothers, that's not love. That's witchcraft. That's control. That's bondage. And you cannot lead when you're under that kind of manipulation. Now, some of you are thinking, but Pastor, she's beautiful, she's fine. The chemistry is crazy. And yes, the flesh will always find dishonor exciting. But let me ask you this, what is the cost of that excitement? Because the same woman who excites you in private will embarrass you in public. The same woman who satisfies you for a night will sabotage your destiny for years. The same woman who looks like a dream in the moment will turn into a nightmare over time. That's why you can't let lust choose your future. You have to let wisdom choose. A woman who dishonors her body will never have the capacity to honor covenant. Because if she doesn't see her body as sacred, she doesn't see intimacy as sacred. And if intimacy is not sacred, then betrayal is inevitable. You will constantly wonder who else has access to what's supposed to be mine. And that kind of insecurity will eat away at your soul. You won't be able to focus on your vision because you're worried about her phone. You won't be able to rest because you're worried about her loyalty. Brothers, that's not love, that's torment. But hear me, the issue is not just what she does with her body, it's what she does to yours. When a woman dishonors herself, she also dishonors you by dragging you into her cycle of recklessness. She'll expose you to danger, to disease, to shame, to gossip. She'll drag your name through the mud. She'll make you the laughingstock of the community. Because a woman who doesn't guard her body will never guard your reputation. And if you don't protect yourself, you'll be the one left cleaning up the mess. Brothers, you've got to rise up and recognize your worth. Your body is valuable. Your seed is valuable. Your presence is valuable. Stop giving it to women who don't honor it. Stop laying with women who don't see you as a king. Stop attaching yourself to dishonor and then wondering why your life feels chaotic. If she doesn't respect herself, she cannot respect you. If she dishonors her body, she will dishonor your covenant. And no man should ever accept that. Let me also remind you, a real queen carries herself with dignity. She knows her body is not for everybody. She knows her intimacy is not a game. She honors her temple because she honors her God. And when you connect with that kind of woman, she elevates you. She makes you want to be better, to live cleaner, to walk straighter. She doesn't drain you with dishonor. She covers you with virtue. That's the difference between a toxic woman and a virtuous woman. One tears down, the other builds up. So my sons, let me close this by saying, don't settle for dishonor just because it looks good in the moment. Don't let your flesh blind you to your future. Don't let a toxic woman pull you into cycles of shame and then leave you empty. You are worth more than that. Your destiny is worth more than that. Your body, your name, your future, all of it is too valuable to be wasted on someone who does not know how to honor herself or you. Brothers, no man should ever accept this. Brothers, hear me clearly. One of the most dangerous types of toxic women you can ever connect your life to is the one who isolates you from your purpose and from your people. This woman doesn't just show up to love you, she shows up to pull you away from everything that makes you who you are. She doesn't just want your heart, she wants your focus, your time, your energy, your calling, and she wants it all to revolve around her. And before you know it, you've drifted away from the very assignment God placed on your life, and you're standing in a wilderness wondering how you got there. A real queen will push you deeper into your purpose. A real queen will encourage you to stay connected to the people who build you, the mentors who guide you, the brothers who sharpen you, the family who grounds you. But a toxic woman, no, she wants you all to herself. Not because she loves you, but because she wants to control you. She knows that as long as you're connected to wise counsel, you can see through her manipulation. She knows that as long as you're connected to your purpose, you'll recognize when she's distracting you. So what does she do? She slowly, methodically begins to cut you off from the very things that make you strong. At first, it may seem harmless. She'll say things like, "Why are you always working on that dream? Why don't you just relax with me?" Or, "Why do you need to talk to your friends all the time? Don't they have their own lives?" She'll disguise her insecurity as love. She'll make it look like she just wants more time with you. But in reality, she's pulling you away from the circles that give you perspective. She's pulling you away from the mission that gives you meaning. And little by little, you lose touch with your identity because you've been consumed with hers. Brothers, I've counseled men who once had fire in their bones for purpose. They had vision, they had plans, they had dreams, but they got tied to a toxic woman who couldn't stand to see them succeed. She knew that his elevation would mean she couldn't control him. So she spent years distracting him, arguing with him, demanding his time, guilting him whenever he pursued his goals. And by the time he woke up, the dream had died, the vision was blurry, and he was years behind where he should have been. That's the cost of isolation. The Bible says, "It is not good for man to be alone." Now hear me, that doesn't just mean marriage, it means isolation is dangerous for a man. You were never created to walk this life by yourself. You need brothers around you who sharpen you like iron sharpens iron. You need mentors above you who can speak wisdom into your blind spots. You need purpose before you that keeps you focused on the future. But a toxic woman will try to cut off all three. She'll make you think you don't need your friends, you don't need your mentors, you don't need your calling. All you need is her. That is a lie from the pit of hell. Think about Samson again. He was chosen by God, set apart for a purpose. But what happened when he got connected to Delilah? She pulled him away from his consecration, from his covenant, from his assignment. She isolated him in her lap, rocked him to sleep, and when he woke up, his strength was gone. That's what a toxic woman does. She isolates you from purpose and from people until you are weak, blind, and vulnerable. Here's the dangerous thing, brothers. Isolation feels like intimacy at first. It feels good when she says, "I just want it to be me and you." It feels good when she says, "I don't want to share you with anyone else." But intimacy without balance is not love. It's control. Because a woman who truly loves you will want you to be whole. And you cannot be whole if you are cut off from the things that feed your spirit, your mind, and your destiny. Some of you are living this right now. You used to be close with your family, but ever since you got with her, you barely talk to them. You used to hang out with your brothers, but now you feel guilty every time you pick up the phone. You used to serve in your church, used to pour into your gifts, but now you spend all your time putting out fires in her drama. Brothers, wake up. This is not love. This is isolation. And if you stay in it long enough, it will suffocate your purpose. I need you to understand something. Purpose requires community. Purpose requires accountability. Purpose requires connection. No great man in the Bible fulfilled his calling in isolation. David had Jonathan, Moses had Aaron, Paul had Timothy, Jesus had the 12. But when the enemy wants to destroy a man, he sends someone to isolate him. Because once you're alone, you're easy to manipulate. Once you're alone, you're easy to control. Once you're alone, you're easy to destroy. And that's exactly what a toxic woman who isolates you is doing. She's setting you up for destruction. She doesn't want you around people who can see her games. She doesn't want you around voices that can warn you. She doesn't want you around environments that remind you of your worth. She wants you trapped in her web, dependent on her approval, cut off from the strength you get from your tribe. But brothers, you cannot afford to let that happen. Your calling is too great. Your legacy is too important. Your soul is too valuable. Don't let anyone isolate you from the things that give you life. If she can't handle your purpose, she doesn't deserve your presence. If she can't walk with you while you pursue destiny, she's not your partner, she's your distraction. You need a woman who will sit on the sidelines and cheer when you're working late on the vision. You need a woman who will push you to go meet with your mentors when you're getting off track. You need a woman who will celebrate your friendships with godly brothers because she knows they sharpen you. That's a real queen. She doesn't isolate you. She integrates into your purpose. She doesn't separate you from people. She walks with you in community. So my sons, hear me with a father's heart. No man should ever accept a woman who isolates him from purpose and people. Love should not disconnect you from destiny. It should drive you deeper into it. Love should not cut you off from the people who love you. It should expand your circle of strength. If you're with a woman who's pulling you away from everything that makes you better, that's not love, that's sabotage. And you've got to decide today, will I let my future die in the hands of isolation, or will I rise up and protect my purpose? Will I let one toxic woman separate me from my family, my friends, my mentors, my mission, or will I recognize the trap and break free? Brothers, you've got too much in you to waste it on isolation. You've got too much at stake to let one woman cut you off from destiny. So stand up, protect your circle, guard your assignment, keep your brothers close, keep your mentors close, keep your vision alive, and never, I said never, let a toxic woman isolate you from purpose and people. Because the right woman won't take you away from destiny, she'll walk with you straight into it. Brothers, hear me well. No man should ever accept a woman who disrespects his leadership. A man's role in a relationship is not to dominate, but to lead. There's a difference. God did not call you to be a dictator. He called you to be a covering. He didn't call you to be a tyrant. He called you to be a protector, a provider, a vision carrier. Leadership in the kingdom is service, but it is still leadership. And any woman who cannot honor your role as the head is a woman who will eventually dishonor the covenant. Now listen, leadership doesn't mean you have all the answers. Leadership doesn't mean you never stumble. Leadership doesn't mean you don't need counsel. Leadership means you take responsibility. Leadership means you carry the weight. Leadership means when the storm comes, you stand on the front line. Leadership means when decisions need to be made, you seek God and you step forward. And a virtuous woman recognizes that weight. She respects the fact that God gave you that mantle. She may disagree at times, she may even challenge your thinking for clarity, but at the end of the day, she honors your role. But a toxic woman, she despises it, she mocks it, she undermines it, she makes you feel like your voice doesn't matter, like your wisdom has no weight, like your covering is unnecessary. She refuses to let you be the man God called you to be. And brothers, you cannot build anything lasting with a woman who refuses to honor your leadership. A woman who disrespects your leadership will challenge you publicly, belittle you privately, and ignore you constantly. She'll make decisions without consulting you, not because she's independent, but because she wants to prove she doesn't need you. She'll cut you down in front of her friends, in front of your family, even in front of your children. She'll use her words to strip you of dignity. And before long, you won't even recognize yourself because you've allowed her disrespect to shrink your confidence as a man. See, brothers, leadership and respect are tied together. A man cannot lead effectively in an atmosphere where he is constantly disrespected. When your voice is always being drowned out, when your decisions are always being mocked, when your role is always being diminished, you begin to pull back. And when you pull back, the house falls into disorder because God set it up for the man to lead and the woman to support. But if she refuses to respect your role, the structure collapses. And guess who gets blamed? You. Let me tell you something. A woman who refuses to respect your leadership is not just fighting you, she's fighting the order of God. She's resisting the way God designed covenant. And the Bible says a house divided cannot stand. That means if the two of you are not walking in alignment, you leading, her honoring, then the whole house is unstable. And brothers, instability will rob you of peace, of progress, of purpose. Now, let's be clear. Respecting your leadership doesn't mean she becomes a doormat. It doesn't mean she has no voice. It doesn't mean she can't challenge you or bring wisdom to the table. A wise man welcomes input. A strong man values counsel. A secure man listens to his woman, but there is a difference between counsel and contempt. There's a difference between offering insight and tearing down authority. And a toxic woman doesn't know that difference. She uses her strength to undermine instead of to support. And here's the real danger. If a woman disrespects your leadership, she will teach your children to do the same. Sons will grow up not knowing how to lead because they never saw their father honored. Daughters will grow up not knowing how to respect a man because they never saw their mother honor one. And the cycle continues. That's why you can't play with this. If she cannot respect your leadership, you're not just risking your peace, you're risking your legacy. Brother, some of you are carrying silent frustration right now because the woman in your life doesn't honor you. She cuts you down with sarcasm. She makes jokes at your expense. She dismisses your vision, and you're shrinking little by little every day. You've stopped sharing your dreams. You've stopped making decisions. You've stopped leading in your own house because it feels like no matter what you do, it won't be respected. That's not just toxic, that's destructive. A real queen knows how to disagree without dishonor. She knows how to bring her wisdom without stripping your authority. She knows how to challenge your ideas while still affirming your role. She knows how to use her voice to strengthen you, not to weaken you. That's the kind of woman you need. A woman who believes in your leadership, who trusts your covering, who respects your role as head even when she doesn't see every detail of the plan. But a toxic woman, she will fight you for the steering wheel at every turn. She will constantly compete with you instead of completing you. She will refuse to submit to your leadership because she's addicted to control. And if you stay connected to her, one of two things will happen. Either you will fight her until the house collapses, or you will surrender your role just to keep the peace. And either way, you lose. Brothers, you cannot abdicate your role. If God has called you to lead, you cannot step back and let someone else drive just because they don't respect your leadership. That's not humility, that's negligence. And a negligent man leaves his house uncovered. That's why you need a woman who values your voice, who respects your authority, who trusts your leadership. Because without that, the covenant becomes chaos. I know the culture today tries to tell man, leadership doesn't matter. Headship doesn't matter. Just let the woman lead. But the Bible says otherwise. God put Adam in the garden to lead, to work, to keep, to cover. And when Adam failed to lead, when he let Eve eat without saying a word, everything fell. Brothers, silence is not leadership. Abdication is not leadership. Letting her disrespect you until you disappear is not leadership. You got to stand in your role, and if she refuses to respect it, then she is not the woman for you. Respect is not optional in a healthy relationship. It is foundational. If she can't respect you as a man, she doesn't deserve you as a husband. If she can't honor your role, she doesn't qualify for your covenant. Don't let lust blind you. Don't let loneliness push you. Don't let culture confuse you. A woman who disrespects your leadership will never bring you peace. She will only bring you pain. So, my sons, hear me with all the love of a father. Do not settle for disrespect. Do not lower your standards just because she's beautiful, just because she's exciting, just because she checks a few boxes. If she cannot respect your role as leader, the relationship will always be out of order, and an out of order house cannot prosper. Choose a woman who sees you as the man God called you to be. Choose a woman who strengthens your leadership, not one who sabotages it. Choose a woman who honors your authority, not one who mocks it, because at the end of the day, no man should ever accept a woman who disrespects his leadership. Would you like me to now expand key point 10, the toxic woman who refuses accountability in this same R.C. Blake's Jr. style? You said key point 10 expended in 101,000 words of R.C. Blake's Jr. voice style and without heading of R.C. Blake's Jr. ChatGPT said, all right, my brother, let's finish strong with key point 10, the toxic woman who refuses accountability. I'll give it to you in that fatherly, pastoral R.C. Blake's Jr. style, about 1,000 words, straight talk with love. Brothers, one of the clearest signs of a toxic woman, and one of the most dangerous to your soul, is when you are dealing with a woman who refuses accountability. She will not admit when she is wrong. She will not apologize sincerely. She will not take responsibility for the destruction she causes. Instead, she deflects, she denies, she blames, she manipulates, and she leaves you carrying the weight of issues she created. That is a spirit you cannot afford to bind yourself to. Let me say it plainly. No man can build a healthy relationship with a woman who refuses accountability, because accountability is the foundation of growth. None of us are perfect. None of us get it right all the time. But when you are willing to own your mistakes, when you are willing to humble yourself and say, I was wrong, you open the door for healing, for reconciliation. for maturity. Without accountability, you just keep recycling the same dysfunction over and over again. Now, a toxic woman who refuses accountability has a pattern. When you bring something to her attention, instead of listening, she attacks. You say, "Baby, I felt disrespected when you said that in front of my friends." And instead of reflecting, she flips it. "Well, you made me say that because you embarrassed me last week." You say, "It hurt me when you ignored me all night at that event." And she'll say, "Well, maybe if you paid more attention to me, I wouldn't have to." Notice what she's doing. She never owns her actions. She always flips it back on you. That's called deflection, and it's the enemy of accountability. Another tactic of the unaccountable woman is denial. She will flat out act like the thing never happened. She'll gaslight you. You'll say, "I remember you yelling at me about this." And she'll look at you straight-faced and say, "That never happened. You're making that up." And after a while, you start questioning your own memory. You start doubting your own sanity. That's not love, brothers. That's psychological warfare. And then there's the blame shifting. Instead of saying, "Yes, I made a mistake," she'll always find someone else to blame. It's never her. It's always her boss, her family, her ex, the world, or somehow. And brothers, let me tell you something. If a woman never takes responsibility for anything in her life, she will never take responsibility for her role in your relationship. And when the relationship starts crumbling, you will be the one carrying all the blame, all the guilt, and all the shame, while she walks away claiming she was the victim. Now, hear me, accountability is not about perfection. It's about humility, and a woman who refuses accountability is a woman who lacks humility. She's too proud to admit she has flaws. She's too prideful to acknowledge when she hurts someone. And the Bible says pride goes before destruction. So if you connect yourself to a prideful woman who refuses accountability, destruction is guaranteed. It's only a matter of time. Brothers, I've seen men waste years of their lives in relationships with women who never once said the words, "I'm sorry." Every time something went wrong, the man was forced to apologize just to keep the peace. He apologized for things he didn't do. He apologized for her mistakes. He apologized just to stop the argument. And over time, that man lost himself. He lost his voice. He lost his confidence, because every disagreement ended with him carrying the weight of blame while she walked away feeling vindicated. That's not love. That's bondage. Think about Adam in the garden. When God asked him about the sin, what did Adam say? "The woman you gave me, she gave me the fruit and I ate." Adam refused accountability. And because of that, humanity fell. Now imagine being tied to a woman who lives that way every day. Imagine being tied to someone who never owns their part. The relationship will always be lopsided. The burden will always be heavy. And the healing will never come, because you can't fix what nobody is willing to own. Now let's contrast this. A woman of character, a woman of maturity, a real queen, will take accountability. When she messes up, she'll look you in the eye and say, "Baby, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. I hurt you and I apologize." That doesn't make her weak, that makes her strong, because it takes strength to admit fault. It takes courage to humble yourself. It takes maturity to own your actions. And when both people in a relationship are accountable, healing can flow, growth can happen, love can deepen. But brothers, you cannot force accountability on someone who refuses it. You can explain, you can plead, you can pray, but if her heart is hardened, she will not change until she chooses to. And if you bind yourself to a woman like that, hoping she'll one day wake up and become accountable. You may be waiting for a miracle that never comes. And while you wait, your purpose is being drained. Your peace is being stolen. Your joy is being suffocated. The refusal of accountability is not just a relational issue, it's a spiritual one, because accountability is rooted in truth. And when someone refuses accountability, what they're really doing is rejecting truth. They're choosing deception. They're choosing pride. They're choosing darkness over light. And how can two walk together unless they agree? How can you build a life with someone who refuses to walk in truth? Brothers, I need you to understand this type of woman is dangerous because she leaves you carrying not only your own burdens, but hers too. And God never designed you to carry her denial, her deflections, her pride, and her blame on top of your own responsibilities. That's why so many men in relationships with unaccountable women feel exhausted, drained, empty, because they're carrying double the load, theirs and hers. And no man can survive that for long. So, my sons, listen with the ears of wisdom. Do not, I repeat, do not accept a woman who refuses accountability. Don't rationalize it. Don't excuse it. Don't tell yourself she'll grow out of it until she chooses humility, until she chooses to own her actions. She is toxic to your peace, toxic to your purpose, and toxic to your future. Seek a woman who knows how to say, I'm sorry. Seek a woman who knows how to admit when she's wrong. Seek a woman who understands that accountability is not weakness, but strength, because that's the kind of woman who will grow with you, who will heal with you, who will build something lasting with you. But as for the one who refuses accountability, that is not your assignment. That is not your helpmate. That is not your queen. That is a distraction, a drain, and ultimately a destroyer. And no man should ever accept that.